Luis, I see we have total 61 attendees. Uh, Considering our time, I think we should kick off.
Yeah, we are good to start. Yeah, thanks
Okay.
everybody for joining. I see a lot of people from US, see people from France, Amsterdam, India. Great audience. So thanks for joining us again. Welcome to Capacity Planning Workshop. So let's kick this out. Okay. Uh, yes, before we go ahead, I want to share some housekeeping. We'll have time for Q&A after we do the presentation. We'll save some time to talk about some maybe outstanding questions. But please feel free to raise your questions, use the Q&A option on the meeting. And our team, our colleagues, will be replying to your questions as we go. But again, at the end, we'll open some time for open questions as well. This session is recorded. It's being recorded and will be shared in the community, in ServiceNow community. I'm sure my colleagues will share with you the link as well on chat to that community page. So you can review that later on as well. And after the session, we'll receive a quick survey that we really appreciate if you can spend a few seconds to reply, as that will help us to improve our workshops, the next workshops. So really appreciate if you can just provide what you thought about our workshop today. Great. So going forward, I want to share this slide as well. If you scan this code here, that will take you to our ServiceNow events. There are events from other products, but you'll find there as well the SPM events. So we do events like this one and others. There are more coming. We have another one this week about APM, the Enterprise Architecture Workspace, and others to come as well till the end of the year, and more to come next year. So please stay tuned this on this page as we include more events there. And the link will be shared as well if you are not able to scan the codes. Right, with that said, I need to share the safe harbor notes here, because as we go, we are going to talk about capabilities and functionalities that are available right now, but also we'll probably share some information about looking forward statements, what's coming, what's planned, right? So that's as is planned, that may change because things can change and so on, right? So yeah, you know this very well probably, but just keep in mind when you talk about forward functionalities. Right, this, with that said, the first slides, finally, this is the agenda. We have a quick introduction. We have some questions for you on the polls to understand where you are on those topics. Then you have some discussion and sharing conceptual overview about capacity planning. Then after you go to the setup guide, showing you what you need to set up to make capacity planning available for you. And you have a demonstrations as well. And as we said, we have the Q&A at the end, so we can discuss any other open points. Great. So that said, now this introduction, I'm talking, but you don't know my name probably. I'm Luis Ataide on the left here. I'm Product Success Architect for Strategic Portfolio Management, or SPM, you like in ServiceNow, and I'm based in London, UK. I have been ServiceNow for around 4 years. I joined as part of the expert service team doing SPM implementation, helping customers to implement SPM. And for the last 2 years, I'm in the product success team, helping customers to leverage new capabilities, get the most value of our products with these workshops, sharing best practices as well. And I want to introduce my colleague, Rob, as well. Rob, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks very much, Luis. Yeah, my name's Rob Erickson, based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota in the US. I've actually been with ServiceNow for about 9 years in a multitude of roles, almost all supporting SPM. I was started in our customer outcomes team doing implementations. For the past few years, I was working as a product manager, supporting our SPM sales team and building demo content. And then about a month ago, I joined our product success team as a principal product success manager.
Great, thanks, Rob. So let's go. Yeah, Right. So the challenge, at the end of this workshop, we believe you'll be able to understand how we start the path to adopt capacity planning and leverage that process on your organization. As we go, and we'll talk about what the capabilities available in capacity planning to compare and understand your demand and supply gaps, your constraints, what's the setup that's required, the pre-requirements, the definitions you need to do, the roles that you need, and then leverage capacity planning with other capabilities to prioritize your work against your resource constraints and understand how to use the capability as well. So as we go through the presentation today, as we show in the agenda, we believe you have that visibility, and then you'll be able to go with a more understanding and start the path to adopt capacity planning, hopefully shortly. Right. So the questions we have for you, we have some three questions, three polls for you, and my colleague is going to start that. First one, how do you do capacity planning? So it'd be great if you can reply if you are not doing at all capacity planning, if you do somehow outside ServiceNow, or if you are already doing capacity planning in ServiceNow today. Yeah, it'd be great to understand where you are. So we got 53 people answered. Wait a few more seconds. Let's see, we have that number going up. Last chance. Right, I think we are good, Shiva. If you can stop that poll. So I'll bring the results. Here we are. Right, so we have 30% not doing at all, 41 outside ServiceNow, and 29 in ServiceNow. Great, that's nice to know. Thank you very much. Then we have the next one. Next one is, have you already started using resource assignment functionality? And if you don't know what that means, then probably the answer is no. And our colleague is going to share later on a link to another workshop about this functionality resource assignment that we had a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, please help us to understand where you are. And you understand why we are asking that in few slides, because resource assignment is important as part of capacity planning. Right, more to come. Great. Few more seconds, last chance to answer. And good, I think we are good. Right, so here we go. So we have 50% is not using resource assignments, 28 planning to use, that's great, and we have 22 using. Great,
Yeah,
I want to know more about
actually
those
quite a
things.
few that are already using.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it'd be nice to keep in touch at some point to understand feedbacks about these, but that's another conversation. We may stay in touch after. Yeah, great. So next one and the last one. So that's the last one. Have you already started using portfolio planning or strategic planning workspace? Let's see if I get a good number as well. All right, a few more seconds. Last chance. All right, I think we are good to stop this one. And here we are. So we have 20% no, 48 planning to use. That's great. And 32% using. That's great as well.
Yeah,
Right, thanks
80%
very
either
much.
using or planning to use. That's
Yeah, it's a good number, right?
maybe we can convince that other 20% at some point.
I hope after this meeting, more people go to planning to use as well, right?
Right.
Yeah, thanks very much, everybody, to sharing your situation and your plans as well. So let's keep going to the conceptual overview of capacity planning. So I want to share some slides to give you this overview. Uh, you probably know what I'm going to talk about because you know what's capacity planning is basically you have your supply of work, so you have your people available to work. So your supply, right, based on groups, they are organizing groups, they have some roles or other things. They have their work schedule. Some people work 8 hours per day, other people work part-time. And with that, you have, you know, how many employees I have available to basically work and deliver the work. That's on the right side of this balance here, right? I have my demands. I have people request for work that requires some kind of roles, skills, groups, or people to deliver that work. And what's the amount of effort to deliver that work for a specific period and prioritization. So capacity planning is really put those things together, analyze those things together to understand first, and then make a decision, right? Do I have the capacity to deliver that demand, right, based on what they are required? If not, what should I do? Should I shift the work to maybe deliver things later on, change my priority based on those needs and my capacity, and make decisions for now on the future? So capacity planning is one more uh, perspective to define, okay, what type of work I can deliver, uh, and if I have people, or should I do something else? Should I hire more people? Should I have contractors to support me in the next months or so? So those things together will provide you this visibility to make decisions on this dimension as well, together with the other dimensions on your portfolio planning, right? As investments, strategies, and other things all together. Right. So then that's what we have on the capacity planning capability, right? The capacity planning capability really enables you to have this visualization together. What are my resource capacity I have against the demand I have for my portfolio over time, right? So estimation of supply and demands. And with that, I can identify what are the risks to not be able to deliver that planned work, right? So the question is really, do we have the right number of the right type of people? Different type could be roles, could be groups, those things to deliver the planned work, right? So that's what's provided. It's exactly what we had on the last slide. On the previous slides is what's bringing here. And you'll see more how it really works during the demo later on. I just want to raise one point here. That's why we had the question about resource assignment, because to be able to use capacity planning, you need to adopt resource assignments, not resource plans, right? So we have this new capability, resource assignments, that's going and replacing the classic experience for resource plans. And this resource assignments is the base to be able to have that demand information, right, for the capacity planning. So the demand information for my planned work comes using resource assignments. We had a workshop 2 weeks ago, if not wrong, and the links here. I'm sure my colleagues are going to share the link as well on the chat. It's recorded in the community. So you want to see more details about resource assignment, the use case, how that works, is all available on that recording as well. Great. So, and we are going to mention this again as we go. Right. So key considerations, right? Normally the personas are product leaders, portfolio managers, agile COEs, or just example, 3 personas. You could have business stakeholders if they are concerned about capacity as well. This capacity planning is available for SPM standard and SPM professional customers. So if you have SPM standard, you can do capacity planning based on demands and projects. If you have SPM professional, you can do as well, including epics, so agile epics, either Scrum or Safe or both. So that's the difference between standard and professional. It's available for both, but for professional, you can include the agile entities as well. Right. So how to activate, as we said, and I'm going to show you the steps as well. But again, just saying that again, capacity plan is compatible with research assignment, not research plans anymore. And that's the link again. So please, if you have the opportunity, watch this video, the recording, talking more about research assignment and project workspace, but we also mentioned there research assignments for epics and demands. Right, so one more information. These capabilities is available from Utah for demanded projects, but if you are professional and you want to leverage for Agile as well, you need to be on the Vancouver family release. And we have more details about the specific versions on the next slides when you go to talk about the setup. Great, so keep going here. Yeah, so that said, I want to give you more visibility about the functionalities you need to adopt, the path to get there, to get the result of capacity planning. So we have the prerequisites here. You need to be on the next experience. You need to activate the platform next experience to leverage this capability. And in order to have research assignments synchronized to either portfolio planning workspace or strategic planning workspace, you need to have the internal synchronization enabled. And that's part of the portfolio planning and strategic planning configuration, right? So you should have that in place to be able to synchronize. And then we are going to talk on this in more details. You need to define what we call planning attributes for capacity planning. I'm going to explain better what that means on the next slides. You need to create employee profiles for those users that you're going to use the capacity planning and resource assignment. We are going to talk about that as well. And then you need to define, associate what are the planning attributes for each of those employees. And we are going to show that in more detail. So here's more a high level path to get there. So first step, yes, you need to use resource assignments, right? On projects, I'm going to use the example of projects here. So the project workspace, you do resource assignments on the project level or any level on the tasks. And when you include that project in your portfolio plan, so you have the portfolio planning workspace or the strategic planning workspace, you create your portfolio plan, and that project is part of your portfolio. That's where you start analyzing your portfolio. Or you can create this, to be honest, you can create the resource assignments directly using portfolio workspace, portfolio planning workspace, the strategic planning workspace. So you can open the planning item and do the assignments there as well. If it's a project on the project workspace, you have a different experience because you have the heat map. And on the epics or demands, normally you can use APW, SPW, or PW as we call as well. But yeah, you need to do the resource assignment. And again, that other workspace workshop, we have more details about how to do this, how to create resource assignments on projects, how to create resource assignments on demands and epics. Right. Next, you need to generate the capacity. So on the strategic planning workspace, you go and define, okay, I have these attributes, either group, role, and skills, or any other attributes that you may have. And you need to generate, okay, ServiceNow, generate the capacity for this group for me, for example, for this period of time. So that information is available to be used when you are going to the next step, that's capacity planning, right? So you go to the capacity planning, and again, you are going to see those steps later on in the demo, but to just show, yes, you have the resource assignment, you generate the capacity for the groups, roles, or whatever you're using, these attributes. Then when I go to my portfolio, say, okay, I want to see the capacity for these groups or for these roles, whatever is the criteria that you are interested for your capacity planning, for your portfolio planning. With that, we'll be able to analyze, right, compare the supply of those groups, roles or skills, whatever is the attribute, against the demand for the planning item. So comparing basically the two sides of the coin, right? What are my demand and my supplier for my portfolio planning. So that's the path. So if you are, that's why we asked if you are already using resource assignment, so you have done the first step there, that's great. If you are not, please look on that information, on that workshop again, and start thinking about if you should adopt. And then that's why we ask as well if you are using portfolio planning or strategic planning workspace, because that's where capacity planning is available as well. With those things together, you are able to have and analyze, include that other dimension in your portfolio planning, that's capacity planning. So then you have prioritization, you have a roadmap, and then now capacity planning as well to support you, your decisions. Right. So I want to go and talk about now the planning attributes a little bit. So the next slide. So what are the planning attributes? Again, we have the estimated supply of resource, as we have people that are available for my assignments, for my planned work. And the other side, I have the demands, right? I have my projects requesting for people. I have my demands, my epics requesting people as well. Those two dimensions. And the other dimension is capacity planning. So really how we can bring those things together, the estimate supply and the demand of resource to the capacity planning in a way that we can compare each other, right? How I can compare my supply, my people, availability, capacity against the demands. That's where the planning attributes come to place. It's a way to have a common currency between those two sides. How I can aggregate data from both sides and make them make sense together. So that's what's the planning attributes. And I have an example on the next slide. So example here, I have my employees, right? I have a lot of people here. They belong to a group. For example, have people that belong to credit cards, retail bank, and then those people, they have different roles as well. So credit card, I have people that are designer, I have developers, and some of those people, they have skills, right? So if you remove the names from this table, what you get is, okay, now I have groups, roles, and skills. And I know now how many people I have for that attributes. So when I say group, roles, and skills, that's what we are calling attributes, right? So I know how many people I have on credit cards that are designer and they have the skill Figma. And same thing for retail bank and other ones. So I can put those attributes together to understand in details my capacity, right? And then if I put together the timeline, then I can know by month, by period. So I know my capacity now based on those attributes. In my case, I'm showing here the out-of-the-box attributes, group, role, and skill, but you can have another thing like department or country, for example. So that will help you to understand capacity based on those attributes, either using out-of-the-box or additional attributes that make sense for your organization. So that's how we connect together demand and supply, right? Because when I have capacity based on people and the same attributes are used on the resource assignments for demands, we can bring those things together. Right, and here's the out of the box, as I mentioned before. You get those three available for you to use, the group, role, and skill. And group are based on primary group, so the employee profile that we mentioned before, and you are going to see how to set this up. The employee profile identify, okay, what's the primary group of a person? What's the primary role of a person and the primary skill, right? Why that? Because you probably know a person could belong to a more than one resource group, as we have in ServiceNow, right? SPM resource groups are where I put people to be used on resource assignment or my resource management process. But if they belong to several groups, to avoid to duplicate the capacity, we define here, okay, if this person belongs to 2 or 3 groups, what's the primary group of this person? Meaning this person capacity will be considered only for this primary group. So I don't have duplication, right? So if Luis belongs to 2 resource groups, I define the primary group, meaning Luis will be considered only as a capacity for his primary group. So there's no duplication on capacity planning. Right, so here you go. When we put those things together, as we said, attributes on the left, I define my planning attributes already set up. So people, they have a primary group, they have primary role, they have skills. With that, we are able to define, okay, what's my capacity, right? Based on those attributes. Sorry, so how we can aggregate information on those attributes. The same way on my planning items, when I assign someone, so I assign Luis, Luis belongs to a primary group, Luis has a primary role, so we know based on the attributes as well, we can aggregate the estimated efforts, right? And with those two sides of the coins talking the same language, so aggregating data on the same attributes, same language, we are able to bring that information to the capacity planning there. So you can be able to analyze your capacity on those levels, on those attributes. So you will be able to compare how many people I have available by group, by role skills, and how much they are estimated as well, and if I have enough, right? Comparing those attributes, those levels of capacity and demands. Right, so that's what I want to show
Hey,
about
Luis,
the
can I, one thing I just
Yeah.
wanted to mention, you're going to be going through and demonstrating, you don't necessarily have to use all of those attributes if your organization does not use those too. So Luis is going to be showing how you can enable or disable an attribute within an instance. So if you're only using group, you can do that if you're not using role and skill. And he'll also be demonstrating like adding the additional attributes. I think you mentioned that. And later in the demo, I'll be showing you if maybe your organization uses group role and skill for some areas, but not for others, there is some flexibility there as well to only use certain of those attributes when you're doing your capacity planning.
Yes, exactly. Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So you come with the 3 of the box, you can activate or not, or you can put additional ones. So I'm going to, the next steps is actually showing how you can do those steps to make a capacity plan to work. And one of those steps is about the attributes. Right, so we have put this like flow, right? Because we have the 3 things together here, right? We have the resource assignments. As we said, we need to set up the resource assignment if you're not using yet. If you are using already, so as we saw, some people are already using resource assignment, you probably have done these parts, and including, I believe, planning attributes. If you are not using, you need to go through and define the resource assignment setup, do the planning attributes. The planning attributes support resource assignment and capacity planning. And then once you do the capacity planning, you have the setup planning as well, already done, probably if you start from here, and then you can finalize. So I'm going to go through each of those, right? So you don't need to read every box on here, but just to give you some visibility about, okay, those are the steps I need. I need to do something for resource assignment. I need to do planning attributes, and then last part I can do capacity planning, because without those 2, you're not able to have capacity planning at all. Right, so first step, let's go to resource assignment step. So we are on the first step here, that is upgrade or install if you're not having Project Workspace yet. So first step, to be able to use resource assignment for projects, you need to upgrade the Project Workspace to 4.1.0 or above. So I put here a screenshot of the store, ServiceNow store. I have the link here with the release. So from 4.1.0, you are able to use resource assignments for projects on the new Project Workspace. But of course, we recommend to get the latest one. We have a new release that came out last week. So yeah, please feel free to go to the store, see the release notes, and see what's new on the new release from last week. So that's the first step to have resource assignment. Then as we go now, then yes, we have the latest project workspace in place, nice and available. Now you need to do another step, that's making resource assignment available inside the project workspace. For that, you need to enable a property, right? And this requires the admin role. So I have a very quick short video to show here how you do this. It's very simple. You go to the sys properties table, right? Open that up and you look for that property there, enable resource planning. Open the property, make sure you are in the right scoped application to be able to change. Right, I'm going to a shortcut here. You should have update set, all those things, but just to demonstrate to you, true and done. Great. So once that's done, when you go to the project workspace for a new project or a project that doesn't have any resource plan created using the classic experience, you'll be able to create resource assignment. So again, on that previous workshop, I know I'm saying that several times, we show the use case, we show that you cannot use resource assignment if you have already created resource plans for a project, right? You can use resource assignments for projects without resource plans. I want just to highlight that point. So that's the first step, straightforward. And then next one is, okay, you need to, if you're not using resource plans, we don't have resource groups at all, then the next step, you need to create those resource groups. So you need to define first how you want to organize people together for your resource management process, how you want to analyze capacity, how do you want to assign people for groups, right? And then once you define that, you need to create those resource groups in ServiceNow, SPM, and add the members, who are the people that belongs to that group. We recommend to have people belong to only one resource group, as we said before, because you need that primary group. If you have people in one group, that will make easier the next steps that I'm going to show you later on. So let's show quickly how to create a resource group. You need to have one of those roles there on the top, resource manager or admin. So you go to resource, then you see there are groups. You see the ones that are already there. Click on new, straightforward. Then I'll put a name here, product success, for example. You can define description, other things, but I'm going to skip this. Save to stay on this screen. And once we save, you see there group members. And just a small pause here. You see as you use the menu, this group gets the role PPS resource _ resource automatically, meaning this is a resource group. Meaning as well, this group is available for the resource assignment capability for the attributes, planning attributes as well. And meaning that everybody that be included in this group, you get the same role. So people that are included here, they'll get the PPS _ resource role. They are available for resource assignments or resource plans if you are using the previous one. But let's talk about the new one. You'll be available for resource assignment, right? So then after that, you can include the members here. Just a quick example, pick like 3 people just to show you how to work. So select those 3 people that I need and done. It's pretty much this. And again, people will get to see here, there's a job schedule to provide those people the roles that are associated to this group. In this case, the PPS _ resource. Right. So a comment here, you see all optional here. You see this schedule information. So people can be associated to a schedule that defines their capacity, right? How many hours they are able to work. So if it's empty, ServiceNow is going to use the default schedule. That meaning Monday to Friday, 8 hours per day, but you are able to define exceptions. Maybe people that work part-time, you can associate a different schedule for those people. And there's more details here. There's a link to the docs showing you how this works. Right, so this was the research group. Going forward, next one, research roles optional, because as Rob said, maybe you don't manage roles, research roles, and that's okay. So you don't need to define research roles, you don't need to use the planning attributes roles either. But I'm going to show you here very quickly how to create, very short as well, if you decide to use resource roles and associate people to those roles. So you go to resource roles, you see the ones that are there, more or less the same thing, right? Go new, define what's the name of the role, ServiceNow SME as an example here. Then I will save just to stay on the same screen and finalize and associate people to those to this role. So I can define users here. And now I'm saying those 3 people, their research role is ServiceNow SME, right? This pretty much this is quite simple. All right, next. So Shivan, I think Kevin raised his hand. If you can take his question and then we answer later. Kevin, if you can raise your question Q&A, that would be great. Then we can discuss later on if you don't get your answer. But thanks for raise your hand. Next one, sorry, it's not this one again. Next one, yes, next one is, so we are moving to the end of research assignment, is if you want to do research assignments for demands and acts outside of Strategic Planning Workspace or Portfolio Planning Workspace for demands, because you can use those Strategic Planning Workspace and do research assignments for planning items that represent demands and acts. But if you want to do in the traditional form, you can add that option as well. So you can add the related list research assignment. That's what we are going to do here. And you need to have the role admin to add those. So I'm going to do for demand first. I'm just going to find the demands and open any demand form. That's the easier way for me, just to open from here. And then I go to configure related list to find and include the resource assignment related list. The new resource assignment, this new related list. So if you go scroll down, you see this resource assignment task included for the demands. And what I'm going to do here, indeed, I'm going to remove the resource plan one, and I will leave the resource assignment. Why? As we said before, if you are using resource assignments, don't use resource plans anymore. It's one or the other. So in this case, I decide to use resource assignments. So I remove the resource plans. So now I can create, sorry, just a second. Now I can create resource assignments from the demand form. That information will be synchronized to portfolio planning or strategic planning workspace as you have the integration in place. So you can create either resource assignment here, and they will be available on the planning item on portfolio or strategic planning workspace, and vice versa, right? So if you create on there, the information will be available here as well. So yeah, so now same thing for epics. You could do for both safe epics or Scrum epics. I'll do for Scrum. A bit quicker here, same thing, configure related list. And make sure here that you pick the right list. Pick the one that says research assignment task, right? That's the one we use to create assignments for epics. And here it is. We can create now from here. Same thing we create here that goes for the planning item and vice versa. Right, so that's pretty much the research assignment here on the top. Now, as we move, we start going to the planning item. That's the last step for research assignment, but indeed the detail is here on the middle. Right, so that's not what I want. Right, so that step that Rob mentioned before, right? We have the out-of-the-box attributes. This step should show how to enable. I'm going to do for one, how to enable out-of-the-box attribute for capacity planning. For this, you need to have one of those roles, PPS admin or the alignment core APW admin. And let's see how it goes. So first thing, you need to go to planning attributes. Okay, small pause. Those two goes to the same place, by the way. So planning attributes. And here you see the out of the box ones. So you'll see more because planning attributes could be also used for financials, right? So, but it's another conversation about us because you can create from resource assignments how you want to create your cost plans. So you can define attributes for financials or resource capacity planning, right? So let's see. I'm going to do for groups. So we have three. These three comes out of the box. They are false for resource capacity planning, and then I'm going to enable that first one. So group, I go here. You see again, enable for capacity planning is false. I'm going to set to true. You'll see here the attribute table is the employee profile. That's why you need to generate employee profiles in the next steps. And then when I do this and update or save, I got a message is missing some configuration. If I go back, you see on this related list, planning attributes column configuration is missing this last definition here. So it's missing definition for the table that brings together demand and supply, basically. So you see, I open that, and what I need to do is simply say, okay, for this table, I need to use the group. So as well, please use this group on the attributes and associate and compare for this table as well. So that's the only step you need to do. Once you have done this, now you can activate the attribute. So is everything okay? I'm going to activate these attributes and update. So now I have oops, let's go back here. Now I have, sorry, go forward. Now I have the groups available for capacity planning. Skill and role are not available. Just the example, as Rob said, you don't need to use the three of those. You can use one, two, or those three if you like, or you can create a new attribute and use together with your group, for example, or don't use, just use your new attributes, for example. The next step I'm going to show is exactly that one, right? Optional, how to create a new planning attribute in this case. So you need the same roles, you go the same place, right? And I'm going to pause in some points here. So it's like the same thing, but then now I go to new. I'm going in my case, sorry, click on the wrong place. On my case, I'm going to create, that's where I was here. I'm going to create a new planning attribute based on department, for example. So I want to have my capacity also by department, right? So in this case, oh my gosh, sorry again, go up. Sorry, wrong slides. Click on the wrong place. Let's go forward here. Right, so department is already available on the employee profile. So see, the attributes is based on employee profile. I see the employee profile fields here. And if I go to the user, so the employee profile has a reference to the user, and the user has a department field. So in this case, I'm going to say I want to have the planning attribute based on the user department that's associated to the employee profile, basically. So I'm going to go to the user.walk, right, to the user department that's already there. Great, I'm going to activate for capacity planning. When I save this and I go back, so you see here, ServiceNow has included these planning attribute columns because now you need to say, okay, for those tables that are used, planning attributes are needed, resource allocation, this combination, resource plans, resource assignments. I need to do that mapping as well. What are the fields on those tables that represent departments? In this case, we don't have we don't have a department on those fields, so on those tables. So what we need to do is to create a new field on each of those tables for departments with the same characteristics, right? So it's a reference to the department table as well. So I'm going to do for the first one, but it's exactly the same step for the others. So I'm going to go to this table definition. So I'm going to take the name of the table here. And I go to the tables option here. For that, you need the admin role, by the way. And I will find that table. Right, resource allocation. Open that table and create a new column, right? New column name will be department, type is reference, and the reference is department. So this is important. I mean, the reference, the same reference of the field on the user, right? Because I'm using user.department. That field is a reference to the department table. So I create exactly the same thing here, the same type of reference. Right, that done. I could make that region only because you don't need to change that manually, but just to save some time. And you see here, I come back to the attributes to finalize my configuration. So after you have created those fields for each of those tables, you need to come here and say, okay, for the resource allocation, use the field department. For this table, use the new field department as well. Right, so we go there and we say, okay, for this, please use the field that we just created called department. Here you go. So I skip it, of course, but it's like the same step. So now I have the new field created on each of those tables because we didn't have any field for department with a reference to the department on those tables. I have done the map, say, okay, use that field I just created, and now I can activate these attributes. Right, so this first step is done. I have created the attributes, I define the fields to be used. Now there's some few more steps to be done, right? Because now it's available. So if I go to the project workspace, sorry, the strategic planning workspace, you see that attribute here, and Rob is going to show that quickly, and I'm going to show the next steps as well. Here is where you generate capacity for attributes. So I don't have department here, so it's a new field, right? It's a new attribute. I'm not able to generate anything, any capacity for that department because I'm not available here. So I'm going to show how to make the new attributes, a custom attribute, a new attribute available here as well. So you will be able to generate capacity. So you go. So yeah, it's not available. What we need to go to a table that will show the name for you right now. So we go to tables. Right, tables there. Search for this table here. And we open this one. Yeah, attribute aggregate combination is that table I mentioned before that is used for capacity planning and combine supply and capacity together. So we need to make that field visible on the form of this table, basically. So the field was created already on the previous step. The field department, I go to the form of that table, and then I'm going to just include here on the form. Right, here's the new field we have created before. Is on the form. We don't need to worry about the display, but as you see, if I go back to the workspace, now departments available because I include on that form, so it's visible here as well. You don't need to do that for role, group, or skill because they are out of the box, and the solution is going to show or hide for you if it's activated or not. But you need to do this step if you are creating new planning attributes for capacity planning. Right, so now I can select a department, for example, and then I can generate the attribute, the capacity. right? So I have the capacity result now. So that's how you can create new planning attributes. This was a department example. As I said before, you could use other things like locations and other like internal, external employee, some kind of other analysis that you need your capacity planning. Great. So going forward, there's some few more steps to go. Next one is generate employee profiles. So we are going to generate employee profiles because, as we said, we are using employee profiles to define those primary groups, primary roles. Department in this case is already there. And then how we do this. So you go to the employee profiles and you create a employee definition. So employee definition is basically defining, okay, how I want to bring users from the user table to the employee profile. So this works only for active users, right? Table is user. This is the default table for ServiceNow for users. You may have other tables, but the example is based on this one. And what I'm going to do here, for my example, I want to bring only users that has the role for resource assignments that's impact capacity planning. So I'm going to include a filter here. Roles is PPS underscore resource. So only people available for resource assignments. When I do this, I can save this definition. After I save, there's an option here, generate employee profiles. Right? When I click this, ServiceNow is going to run this, go to the user table, get everybody that has the PPS resource and is active because only active users, and you create the respective employee profile on the employee profile table. Right. Asking me if I'm sure. Yes, please. And then that's done, right? That's the employee profiles are created, and then that's the first step for this part of employee profile. So next step, make a pause, is next one, sorry. Here. So once we have the employee profiles, then, okay, we need to define those attributes. What's the primary group? What's the primary role? The primary skills for those people. For that, there's a job, out of the box job. And I'm going to show the name here. Sorry, I click on the wrong place again. The name here, populate primary attributes for all resource. So we don't need to do manually for hopefully most of the case. What this job does is it goes to those employee profiles. Yeah, you can just execute here. It goes to each of those employee profiles. You look for the out-of-the-box planning attributes that are active, so primary group, primary role, skill, and you see, okay, if this person belongs to only one group, then let's define that resource group, right? Belongs to one resource group. That let's define this one resource group as the primary group. Same thing for role. So if you are using the attribute planning role, the planning attribute role is going to look for the same person. Does this person has a role? Only one? If yes, yes, copy this role to the primary role. And same thing for skills. That works for the out-of-the-box attributes. So if I run this and complete this, I go to the employee profile just to show you. So you see here, I have my employee profiles, and then as I have people that belongs to only one resource group, they are automatically filled here. So we don't need to do manually for everybody. However, you may have exceptions. You may have people that belong to more than one resource group or has more than one resource role. In this case, you still can do manually to refine that exception, right? You can come here. You could, I didn't put the filter here, but you could filter only PPS as role. A user dot roles is PPS underscore resource, just to see not everybody, but only the ones that you are worried about. And then take the ones that are primary group empty, and you can manually define here. So this job helps a lot if you don't have a lot of people with several research groups, or if you don't have any people on more than one research group, for example, that will populate automatically for you. Otherwise, you need to analyze manually and define the primary groups manually because the system doesn't know, okay, you belong to two research groups, which one to pick, right? So then you need to do some further analysis yourself. Great.
Luis, quick
Yeah.
time check. We are left with last 33
Yep, I
minutes.
have 2 slides, and they are quick, promise you. Right, so with that done, capacity planning is the next step. You need to install or upgrade Strategic Planning Workspace if you are a professional customer, SPM professional, or portfolio planning if you are standard. So for strategic planning 3.0, but again, if you can, please use the latest one for SPM. For standard customers, portfolio planning 7.0.0, but also we have a new release from last week. So that's the first step for having capacity planning available as part of planning portfolios. And then last step for me is this one. You need to generate the capacity plan. So you saw a little bit there. You need to generate the capacity for those attributes. So after that, you are able to analyze the result using your portfolio planning. So that's very quick. And thanks, Shivan, for letting me know the time is flying. So yeah, so when I go to this case is portfolio planning or strategic planning workspace, you have this option here if you have this role, right? SPW capacity user. You have this option here, manage resource capacity. And you click here, you see that same screen I showed you before. And you can define, okay, I want to generate capacity, for example, for next year for a group, specific group that I manage or I want to see that capacity. I'm going to pick here network, for example, and then basically view capacity. System say you don't have any capacity generate, you want to generate, yes, please, and then done. So in this case, based on those attributes that I'm using the 3 out of the box. I can see capacity I have for the group plus the role. I have some people with the network specialist role. I have one person without a role, and I have some people with network engineering role as well. So that's the last step for setup. After that, you are good to go and using capacity planning. That's the next step. That's the demonstration. And that's over to you now, Rob. Sorry if I got took more time than expected, but I think we have time for the demo.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen and bring up my ServiceNow instance. I need to log in again. I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. Looks like someone raised their hand. Maybe you can answer that while I get logged back into this instance.
I see, Kevin. You have your hand up. Can you please come out of mute and ask your question? Sure, if it is a mistake, but if you have a question, please come out of mute. If no, maybe I'll then keep your hand down. Anyone else by the time Rob logs in?
I think I have things ready now. All right. So I'm logged into my ServiceNow instance. This one happens to be on Vancouver with the latest November store releases, but you saw earlier, this is also still compatible with Utah based on your patch level. So I'm going to be taking for this demo the role of a Scrum Master of an Agile team, the HR process team. But I could be responsible for either portfolios, products, project teams, or be a demand project or resource manager. Basically, any persona that needs to know about capacity planning could be doing this. So Luis has done all the hard work, putting all the prerequisites in place. My group has already been set up. Team members were added. And for those team members, both a primary group and role were set up in for those planning attributes. So first, what I want to do, Luis did show how you can generate your resource capacity. And so I'm going to go just to confirm that in my resource capacity generator. I've already selected my HR process team, and I want to just confirm that capacity has been set up for 2024 for my team. So I'm going to click on view capacity, and I can see through the course of 2024, the resources have been set up. They all have groups and roles associated. We don't have with my team, we're not really using skills. So we'll show how that can impact things in a little bit. You'll see that I have 7 FTEs overall, split across multiple roles. Now, if I did add an additional person to my team, I'd want to regenerate that capacity so I'd be able to have that person show up within my group's capacity. All right, so next I'm going to go over to a portfolio plan that we've set up that includes the initiatives around HR. And so my HR process team will be working on those initiatives. And so I'm going to move over to the capacity planning tab in the planning area to see all the work that's going on. And this is just not only my team, but others that might be working on anything within that particular portfolio plan. So first I want to confirm that this tab includes my team or others that we need to review for any capacity issues. And I can see my HR process team is there. And then, so in order to set that though, this is where you would go to this resource criteria area and confirm that all of the groups have been set up. You can also set your criteria by role or skill if you wish. All right, so let's go back to my capacity planning area. So first, I'm really interested mainly in looking at the top pane. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the bottom pane. So you can do that just clicking on that button below. I also want to open up the legend just to see what some of these colors mean. So you have green within capacity, red is over capacity, blue is no risk. All right, so currently my view is set up to show capacity by group, role, and skill in that hierarchical order. But when we were looking at capacity, you've noticed that no skills were defined for users in my group. So you could turn this off at the instance level, which Luis showed, or if you are using it in some areas but not others, here's where you could turn it on or off. So here I've got skill showing, and if I kind of drill into my area, I'd see group, role, and then skill is set to unspecified. If I want to remove it, I just deselect it again, click on go, and now it is only going to show my group and role. Now we could also switch the hierarchy of how we view this. So instead of seeing things by group and role, we could see things by role and then group. So if I deselect role or deselect group, I'm sorry, and reselect it, now role shows as 1, group shows as 2. And if I click on go, now I see the roles, the different roles that are out there. And if I drill in on one, I will see any groups that include people that have that role. So let's switch back to where group is our primary and role is secondary. So now we're going to drill into one of the roles within my groups to see where overallocation is taking place. And you can see that everything looks good for HR process team except July. So we can basically, one thing we can do is toggle between FTE and utilization. So I can basically see, how overutilized. If I don't know exactly how many FTEs I have, I can see how overutilized my group is. All right, then I can see next to some of these teams, I can see this exclamation mark in a red triangle. If I hover over that, that'll actually tell me which months within this capacity plan that I have an overallocation. You can see that with the payroll team, they're in some big trouble. They have overallocation in almost every month of the year. Then if I drill into the HR process team and look at some of the colors here, we can see that, like I said, green is within capacity, red shows a certain time period that's over capacity. You'll also notice that I've got these 2 work items underneath this particular group and role, the HR ticketing system and recruitment workflow. HR ticketing system shows as blue, saying no risk, because it has a higher priority than recruitment workflow. Because recruitment workflow is a lower rank, and we don't have enough capacity to cover both within that time period, it is showing as red for that time period. Now, as we move on, after HR ticketing finishes, now you'll see it goes back to blue because we have enough resources for that particular work item. All right, so next we're going to bring up that lower pane. So we're going to display both panes, and we're going to hide the legend here. So here we can see that my items are just for simplicity's sake, we've made those the top 2 ranking in the system. We can see those. We can see the timeline for those particular items. I also noticed that we have an item that's in yellow. If we bring the legend back up, that means there's no resource assignment. So we have a project out there for the HR mobile app that has no resource assignment associated, but we will still be able to see it on the roadmap here. It'll just show as yellow, meaning that nothing has been assigned. Another nice feature is if I select one of the items in the lower pane, click on it, in the upper pane, it's going to show me all of the different group and role assignments that have assignments for that particular planning item. Again, it might be good to display the top pane only. I can see all of this. I can see, okay, basically under my process team and under these different roles, they're all working on HR ticketing system. All right, so let's show the lower pane again. So within the lower pane as well, if I click on the 3 dots next to a planning item, it'll allow me to open that planning item in Strategic Planning Workspace, and it'll automatically bring us over to the Resource Assignments tab, and I can see the current resource assignments that are associated with that work item. All right, so at this point, I could potentially edit these if necessary as well. All right, so as a Scrum Master, I do want to double check and make sure that none of my individual resources have capacity. So you'll notice so far in capacity management, we're seeing things by group and role. We're not seeing individual users. And so that's where I'm going to go to the newly released Resource Management Workspace. So right now, this workspace is really provides more visibility. It's more of a read-only view. We can see that you can look at things by person, days, hours, or FTEs. So let's just switch it to FTEs to stay consistent with what we were seeing within our capacity view. We're going to also then remove our unassigned risks. So let's give this a moment to refresh. There we go. We'll remove that lower pane, so we're just going to focus on the upper pane initially. You can change the view to monthly and weekly as well. And here's our filter. So we've created a filter where the primary resource group is the HR process team. So that's basically letting me see all of the resources, the individual people within my team. This filter is completely configurable to allow additional teams or choose roles, change your start and end date for what you want to see, and then you can save your filter to use at a later time. All right, so within my group, I can see all of my individuals, and I'm going to scroll over a bit just to see. We can see our problem month is July of 2024, and unfortunately, it looks like everyone is working on the same things, so we do not have any individual capacity to help fill the gaps that is happening with this particular these work assignments. We can drill in to see exactly what those work assignments are, and so ultimately, the only thing that we may be able to do is move out the recruitment workflow out into August, and I think that would solve our capacity issues in this particular case. One other thing that you can do with resource assignment now is if I bring back those unassigned tasks, this will currently show all the tasks, all the unassigned resource assignments that have been created out in the system. And for now, you can drill into these to potentially do some work on it, but in future releases of the Resource Management Workspace, you will be able to start assigning out those unassigned resource assignments to individuals. All right, so that's all I had for the demo. I think next we wanted to go over the roadmap. So I think I had that slide ready. And one of our product managers, Arnab, is on the call, so he can certainly correct me if I misspeak on anything here. So first off, last week we had a store release of different items. So that was this November 2nd release. So you just saw our Resource Management Workspace. It's the first version. It's read-only, but obviously it will be going through a lot of enhancements in our next few releases. We added the ability to assign more than 24 hours. If that is a requirement within your organization, you can do that within a day. And then a few capacity planning enhancements that you saw, the priority-based resource assignments. So you saw there were 2 resource assignments, one in blue and one in red, and it used the rank of those to determine which would be the priority. And so that's what you saw there. You can filter planning items. And then there's the warning icons and color coding. So we went through some of those warning icons and then showed the different colors that were available. So that is functionality that's already been released, available in Utah and Vancouver. Okay, so then we have our next couple of releases that are upcoming. Here are some of the items that are on the roadmap that will be released. Like I said, Resource Management Workspace is going to be going through a lot of updates. A homepage is going to be added. As mentioned, the ability to assign and request resources from that Resource Management Workspace, and then several usability enhancements as we try to bring it into parity with what's currently available in the classic version of the allocation workbench that's available currently within ServiceNow. Another big thing that's coming is migration of existing resource plans. I think that's something that a lot of customers have been very interested in, is as we move over to this concept of resource assignments, if you're already using our classic resource plans in our more traditional resource management, that's something that we will be able to migrate over into resource assignments so that you can use it in the new capacity planning. And then some other capacity planning enhancements. As you see here, scenario planning is coming. I think this is something that we're all very excited about. I think it's going to be, I think, much better than our existing scenario planning that exists in the product today. Now, we're not quite sure exactly what's going to be part of V1 yet, but it's something that should be coming relatively near future. And then we're going to have better support for value stream management within capacity. So value streams is just a concept that's really taking hold in the industry. People wanting to manage their work using value streams, and so that we will have better support for that. And then looking out a little bit into the future, in our long term, this is going to be more like, a few releases out potentially. This is where we're going to have AI for resource management, another big topic where we're looking to use AI to make this easier for people. I think that's the big thing, that really we want AI to make our lives a little bit simpler. And I think that's what we're hoping to do, is to make it easier to manage resources using artificial intelligence. Some more resource management enhancements within that workspace, planning versus actual, being able to see that, and being able to split assignments that is not currently available within our resource assignments or with the resource management workspace. And then some things within capacity planning, scenario planning for capacity plan. So then kind of more of a full-on scenario planning, where you'll be able to change timelines for work items or switch out resources to be able to see how that would impact all of your budget and your time constraints. And so I think that's something that's, again, something that we're really excited about to be able to offer in the future. AI-driven insights and suggestions. So again, using AI within your capacity planning to help you make decisions, and better support for both Scaled Agile and our Scrum Agile products.
Thank you very much for your participation. Really, really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks everyone.